we are here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you is Friday, January 23rd here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Cheska.
Happy Friday, everyone!
Happy Friday!
Happy Friday!
Sita's with us.
Yes, great to be here.
Great to have you, and both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So as we wrap up the week, here's something you might have noticed around you. So Korea has officially entered the era of 2 million long-term foreign residents. From your neighborhood cafes to public transport and workplaces, foreigners are becoming a more visible part of everyday life. So Cheska, have you also personally noticed an increase in foreigners living in Korea in recent years?
Yeah, and I love having international friends around, so it's great to see more foreigners entering South Korea and actually living permanently. I think one of the interesting things I've noticed is that my international friends actually reach out to me and say, hey, I've seen this about Korea, how is it living there, like what's the process like? And they usually refer to like a K-drama and ask me, I know, right? Sushi knows what I'm trying to say, and then ask me if it's close to reality. And I am very, very careful to let them know, of course, the pros, but the cons they have to think about when they do move into Korea. But that all goes to show that more and more people are excited and are actually living in South Korea, as we'll talk about today.
This is where expectations versus reality comes in.
Very much so, yeah.
What about you, Rosina?
So yeah, when I first came to Korea, I came here as a part of my student exchange program. And yeah, after studying Korean language, and it wasn't driven by Korean wave at first. And then rather, I was genuinely interested in learning the language. And then what ultimately made me stay longer here was the confidence I gained after staying here for a long time, handling everyday tasks, and then these everyday experiences actually made me feel more connected to my surrounding. So yeah, I stayed. This is like my 5th year here now. So
wow, so you are the perfect person to join us in the studio as a long-term foreign resident yourself. And that's such a great point. Sometimes not the big moments, but those everyday wins that really make a place start to feel like home. So we're going to talk more about this, but first, let's take a look at the screen. South Korea is increasingly gaining global attention as a country that people want to live in. And the numbers back it up. More foreigners are choosing to move here and make Korea their long-term home. Today on News Generation, we take a closer look at what makes life in Korea especially appealing for long-term residents, their personal experiences behind that choice, and our practical tips for foreigners considering long-term life in Korea. As we just saw in the video, more and more foreigners are choosing not just to visit Korea, but to stay. So let's start with the big picture. So Cheska, when we talk about long-term foreign residents, what does this exactly mean? Just how much has that number grown in recent years?
Yes, so when we talk about a long-term resident in Korea are defined as individuals who legally obtain a visa, register with the Ministry of Justice, and stay in the country for more than 90 days. Now, once registered, they are issued a foreigner registration card, which functions very similarly to a Korea's resident ID card, which is very important to do daily tasks. Now, let's take a look at the screen to see how fast the numbers have grown. Now, the number of long-term Korean foreign residents increased significantly from about 1.57 million in 2021 to over 2 million in 2024. Now, foreigners also come to Korea either to study or to work. So one of the options that has become especially popular is the working holiday visa, which actually allows young people to live in Korea while earning an income at the same time. So let's quickly take a look at the screen. Now, the growth has been quite striking. If you look at the numbers, the number of foreigners entering Korea on this working holiday visa jumped from just around 3,000 in 2022 to around 11,000 in 2024. That's more than 3 times in a span of 2 years. Now, this sharp increase, I think, reflects Korea's growing appeal, not just as a travel destination, but as a place where young people really want to come around the world and experience this daily life, work, culture, and even stay for a long term. And I think this is sort of changing the demographic landscape of South Korea as well. As we talked about, we're seeing more foreigners. It's becoming a little bit more multicultural. now, hopefully. Yeah.
You can see the change around you as well. So those numbers really show how dramatic the change has been, especially the surge in working holiday visas. But beyond the numbers, there are obviously clear reasons why Korea has become an attractive place for foreigners to stay long term. So, Rosita, what is it, do you think, about the life here that makes people want to experience this long term?
I think it's because life in Korea feels both convenient and comfortable. And it's easy to get around in Korea without driving, and the country feels safe and well organized, which makes everyday task life less stressful. So many people are also drawn in by Korean culture and end up wanting to experience it beyond just visiting. So what often starts as a short visit, whether for travel or language study, can turn into longer stay as people grow attached to simple routines like eating local food, using neighborhood facilities, or spending time along the Han River. And these experiences actually make Korea feel less like a place to visit and more like a place to live in.
And that's kind of what happened to you too, right?
Yeah.
You came as to study language, and now you're here 5 years.
Yeah.
The idea of Korea as a place you don't just want to visit, but actually want to live like a local really stands out. From everyday safety to pop culture and simple routines like eating out or spending time by the Han River, it's easy to see the appeal. So we also wanted to hear directly from our viewers. So we ran a poll on the Arirang YouTube channel asking, why would you like to stay in Korea long term? So here's what the results showed. More than half of the respondents, 53%, pointed to Korea's safety and convenient public transportation as the biggest reasons. And 21% said they were drawn to overall K-content driven lifestyle experience, while 13% chose Korean food, and the remaining 13% cited other personal reasons. So what really stands out is that everyday factors like safety and transportation matter even more than pop culture. So it's interesting that while K-content, it seems to be what draws people in, it's really the quality of daily life that makes them want to stay. So to better understand this trend, we're going to speak with someone from Canada who is also living in Korea long term. And that conversation would take place right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Sydney, a long-term Korea resident from Canada. So hello, Sydney. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So how long have you lived in Korea, and what first brought you here? Why did you decide to stay here long term?
So I have been living in Korea permanently since 2019 August, but I've been coming here, like living here, all my time put together, 8.5 years, but I've been coming here for 13 years since June 2012. And I came here first because I got an opportunity to do a summer exchange program at Sogang University. And after that, I traveled a bit, and then I fell in love with Busan, and I lived in Busan for a while, and I just kept coming back. And so I've lived in Seoul, Busan, Hongcheong, Gangwon-do, and Daejeon as well. So.
Sydney, I think you lived in some of the beautiful places around Korea. And as we talked about today, there are many international people who are interested in actually visiting and living in Korea. So please share with us, what was the process of becoming a long-term resident like? You know, perhaps obtaining a visa, finding a place, you know, opening a bank account. Share some of your experiences with us, please.
Well, it's not easy,
I know it's a lot,
right?
yeah.
It's not easy. Even if you know Korean, it's not exactly the most straightforward as one might think. First, getting like a bank account was very complicated because at the times that I was doing it, you needed to have already a visa. But in order to have a visa, you needed to be here for a certain time. And then in order to get a bank account, you also needed a phone number. But in order to get a bank account, you needed to have if you had a phone number, you needed to have a bank account. So it was really just so many back and forth type of things I had to do. Asking my Korean friends for help or just trying to do it by myself was a lot of the time. getting the visa itself, like my current visa, I'm F2, which is 고주 visa, so semi-permanent resident visa. And that's one of the harder ones to get because it's point-based, which is funny because today I actually have to go to renew my visa. And so it's a lot of things that you have to prepare. One of the things I can't stress enough is having knowledge of Korean, like doing the KIP program, doing TOPIK. Those will be your biggest helpers in maintaining and obtaining your visas, as well as just being interested in Korean life, learning more about it, because that'll become part of your tests that you'll do for your visas. And education. Korea is a country very big into education. Same with Canada, actually, as I think we're like the second or the most educated country, secondary type of education. And so here, especially having education in Korea is very important in getting your visas as well. And that's what I was very lucky to have. I was part of the GKS program, so Government Korea Scholarship Program, where I was able to obtain my master's through them. So that was a big help in obtaining my visa.
Yeah, as a foreigner myself, I do agree that our feeling is mutual, Sydney. So despite all of that, so what do you enjoy most about living in Korea?
Oh, there's so much. Like, as you have mentioned as well, it's the convenience of it all. Like, public transportation is amazing, especially compared to Canada, I'm sorry to say, but Korea is hands down so much better than Canada's transportation. It's fast. For my personality, I like the Bali Bali 문화, and so the very fast, fast, fast type thing. When I go back to Canada, I feel it's way too slow, just why? And so when I'm here, I just be like, okay, yeah, I can do things. There's always something going on. So even if you want to be alone, you can't be alone in your own house or whatever, but I like being alone when I go to a cafe. And so I'm not alone, but I have people around me and there's always something going on. You're walking down the streets that you'll see potentially a filming going on, or you'll see an interview, you'll hear busking, you'll see some sort of like festival or whatever. So there's always something for someone to do. And there's tons of groups that you can join as well. And it feels more welcoming for me and I feel more comfortable living here and there's lots more for me to do, especially at my current age and most likely in the future as well. So
Yeah, I think safety and public transportation are often things overlooked by locals. I'm really glad you highlighted that. And also, yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
no, thank you so much for having me and good luck to everyone who wants to get their visa here in Korea.
And hope your renewal
you.
process goes well today too.
Me too.
Okay.
So we just heard from our guest from Canada who shared what the long-term stay process was like and what makes living in Korea especially rewarding. So now let's bring the conversation back to our panelists. So Cheska, what are the aspects about living in Korea that really stand out to you? I know you didn't always live in Korea.
Yeah, and I think having lived in so many different countries, this really stands out to me. Korea is known for the convenience and the abundance of 24-hour places.
That's a good one.
And this is something that, as you said, I think a lot of locals can overlook because we're so used to it, right? But in major cities like Seoul, Busan, I mean, you name it. Honestly, any city in Korea, people can access supermarkets, 찜질방, hot sauna, one of my favorite during the season, karaoke rooms, restaurants, and we cannot not talk about the delivery service and how amazing it is at almost any hour of the day. And what's so beautiful about Korea is that it's perfect for early active goers and people like me who wants to run at 8 a.m. and still rave at noon, to night outers who want to party at night. And the fact that so many businesses operate late into the night, I think reflects something very, very important and deeper, which Sydney also talked about as our interviewee. Korea's relatively strong public safety. I think the ability to move around, eat, and even work late at night is often seen as a sign of society where people can generally feel very secure, even after dark. And there were so so many times that I was working late into the night at my office, and I still very felt safe walking back home, even though it was late and there was nobody on the street. So I think those are the things that I would never feel when I was living in New York, or God forbid, LA. Yeah. So I think one of those things is safety and convenience is definitely something a lot of foreigners look forward to when they come here.
Right. I feel like when I also lived in the States, hearing police sirens was so commonplace.
Yeah.
But obviously here in Korea, that's not really a thing. It's
Right.
very safe.
I would actually living in New York, Manhattan. I was talking to my sister who came. We hear ambulance silence all the time.
It's like part of daily life.
It is a part of a daily musical background melody.
Yeah, exactly. And also that 24-hour lifestyle, it really is unique. And it says a lot of that convenience and safety go hand in hand. So, Rosita, how about you? What's something you personally love the most about living in Korea?
Okay, so like as mentioned before, transportation here is amazing. So I like that I can go anywhere without even knowing how to drive. And the public transportation system is well developed, and the streets are designed in a way that makes walking easy. So I didn't used to enjoy walking, but after living in Korea, I started to like exploring different parts of my neighborhood on foot. So spending more time walking alone also gave me more time to think, and it made me feel that I've grown while living in Korea.
So it's interesting how something as simple as walkability and public transport can really change the way you live and even how you think. So for those considering a long-term stay, now let's talk about what advice we can give. So what advice would you give to foreigners thinking about moving to Korea long-term? Jessica, this is a big question.
It is a big question. And I personally love this question because I too, Sujin, as you know, I've lived in many, many different parts of the world. So every time I was there, I always had to adjust. So I know what it's like to be a foreigner coming into a country where you may not have as many ties, many knowledge of the country. But I think it is really, really important to be open-minded and not be afraid of challenges, because as our interviewee talked about, some of the processes in Korea is not going to be easy. And some of the things that are happening in Korea is not going to be what you imagined from, what's the show that is hot on Netflix, K-dramas and, K-pop demon devil hunters. It's not going to be like that. It's not always music and it's not always rainbows. But I think those are the important things about life, and do not be afraid to ask questions. Korean people are very willing to help when approached. So do not be afraid to approach, ask questions, and go over some of the challenges, because once you get over those, Korea, I think, is a pretty great place to live.
Yep.
What would you say is your favorite part? Because you lived in New Zealand, you lived in the States. What is something special about Korea that made you stay kind of long term?
I think one of the things that will make me stay is this so-called 정. So in Korea, it's kind of hard to do it in English, but it's like the intimacy between people that exists even when you are strangers coming closer. But I actually notice this even when I get service from people. So like when I go to the
restaurants?
In restaurants,
Oh, I see.
in banks, when I have a broken faucet and need to call someone, the fact that they come so fast and they're so kind when they're giving a service, I think when you have lived in overseas where it takes a month to fix your broken sink
You basically do it yourself.
you learn how to fix the toilet by the time.
DIY, everything DIY.
And they come and they do it so nicely. I just want to give them something.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, so I think those are the most wonderful things that I've actually noticed living in Korea. Yeah.
And I think those are beautiful points, and also to not rush the adjustment process, especially when living in a very different environment. So, Rosita, what would you like to add? Any advice from your personal experience?
Okay, so life in Korea, as you all know, isn't always as romantic as it appears in the media. For example, Koreans tend to have high expectations when it comes to evaluating people. And this leads to strong moral standards and even makes things like unmet stories possible. But from a foreigner's perspective, it can sometimes feel like you have to be very mindful of your behavior. And that said, most Koreans are very warm-hearted and kind. So if you're facing difficulties, it's best not to worry too much about appearances and to ask people around you for help.
That's very sound advice. So from safety and convenience to a growing sense of community, it's clear that for many foreigners, Korea isn't just a place to visit. It's a place to truly call home. And as more people choose to stay long-term, the question now is how Korea continues to evolve as a place where people from around the world don't just live, but truly belong. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. But News Gen will be back on Monday at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. Big thanks to Cheska.
Pleasure's always mine. Thank you.
Also, Rosina.
Always happy to be here.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you have the best weekend. We are
News Generation.